Do you know what you get when you hire a Party Down catering team? At Party Down, we have a simple motto. It's your party. You deserve to enjoy it. But how are you going to enjoy the party if you're worried about whether the shrimp cocktail's been sitting out too long, or is there enough ice, or do the guests think the party is lame, or are they stealing stuff, or are they going through the medicine cabinet because they're nosy, or because they think they might find something that'll give them a rockin' buzz? I used to do that last thing. Not anymore. Clean and sober.
Wow, that is quite a motto.
TBTL!
Apparently, I've never been on live television before, but apparently sometimes I don't watch I don't watch the news because I'm a kid.
You can't be serious.
Oh, I'm serious, baby. I am Yahoo Serious. I'm Sirius FM. Welcome to the World Serious of Seriousness, sponsored by Honey Nut Cheerios.
Are you all right?
No, I'm confused.
I want to be the bad boy of public radio, like Elvis Mitchell.
This party is going to be off the hook.
Well, all right. Hello, good morning, and welcome everyone to a Wednesday edition of TBTL, the show that just might be too beautiful to live.
Gotta have that root beer.
My name's Luke Burbank. I'm your host.
As Jay would say, he's got flow.
Coming to you from the Madrona Hill studio, perched high above the mighty Columbia. Another beautiful late July day and morning.
Oh, Ma, Pa, it's just beautiful.
The deer were out this morning here, and there was 3. I don't know when a deer officially becomes a buck, but there was 3 of them running together, walking together, that all had their horns coming in and that kind of velvet on their horns. And there was no females in sight, no little babies, just 3 teenage deer out, probably up to no good. So anyway, I'll see how the rest of the afternoon goes if I spot them again. Maybe I'll take a picture. It'll last longer. You know what will last forever and ever? This episode of TBTL. It's episode 4,521 in a collector series.
Let the fun begin.
That's right. We record these, we put them on the internet, and then they're immediately sent to the Library of Congress, where they're archived and treasured, really, by the American people. We have food news today.
Welcome to Food News Today.
Well, we have a couple of stories that involve places that serve food, I guess, including Charles Entertainment Cheese.
Sometimes you gotta stop and smell the pizza.
Where a very surprising, a series of surprising things recently happened at a Chuck E. Cheese that we're going to tell you about. Also, the Little Red Hen, the sort of legendary and very long-standing Seattle bar, which is in danger of going away. May not have to go away quite so quickly now.
Drunk people are so meta.
We'll get into that, and we'll talk to this guy. Longest-running Cobra of the show, maybe best known for his depictions of the tall ships. He's Andrew Walsh, and he is joining me right now. Good morning, my friend.
When you said this episode is going to last forever, I laughed out loud audibly, but my microphone was muted, so it was on. If Andrew laughs in a studio and his mic is muted, did it really happen? But I thought you meant...
And it's so rare that I elicit a genuine laugh from you, as opposed to the kind of, the
bullshit laugh I give you all the time?
Well, not bullshit, just the sort of professional charisma. Was that it right there?
Did that make you feel good?
Kind of. Okay, see, that worked. Okay.
That would work.
Good.
No, but the thing is, I laughed, but I laughed at the wrong point you were making. I thought you meant this episode is going to last forever, as in we were never going to stop talking, as in somebody's going to look down at their podcatcher to play today's show, and it's going to say show length, and it's going to be the infinity symbol.
The number will just continue to go up, even as it's downloaded into their phone improbably.
Exactly.
There are listeners who would like that.
I know. There are a lot of sickos out there.
Like, we had a 2-hour show recently.
Yeah, people were freaking out.
Getting a lot of good feedback on that, which is, again, I feel like we've been really getting a lot of W's lately. My ego is getting sort of pumped up to what is possibly a dangerous degree. We had such a great time in friendship. We raised enough money to keep the show going, all of that stuff. It's felt really, really good. And then also the fact that when we do put out what I think could only be described as a grotesque, like a grotesque show in terms of length and in terms of just us rambling for literally hours. The feedback is, "Oh, this is great. We're excited. You gave us more of this slop."
Yeah, it's like the eating contest equivalent of podcasts.
Yes.
It's like, you notice they're not serving really high-end food at eating contests. They're
Nobody
serving,
is.
nobody's
is sweating
talking
the
about
details on the Nathan's hot dogs.
Nobody's talking about how great the food was at the contest, just how much of it you could consume, or possibly how quickly you could consume it. And that's basically what we're putting out here.
Yes, a lot of that content is now showing up on my TikTok For You page.
Oh, because of the hamburger challenge that we did, or the Big Mac
It was
challenge?
sort of before that. It's weird. It'll come in waves for like 2 or 3 days. All of a sudden, there will just be a particular, like a style of content, a genre of content, whether it's people talking about their sobriety, or whether it's people who are eating a bunch of food, or it's people who are documenting their, they would say, narcissistic exes, usually through like videotaping them with their phone while the supposed narcissist in question is being narcissistic. And like, that's not something that I've ever gone out and looked for or searched or was particularly interested in. But then one day it'll be every second thing on my feed will be like this sort of version of content. And for a while, and then it'll just, like a day or two later, it'll shift to something else. And for a while it was just people going to, like, not, particularly famous restaurants, just like a random cafe somewhere or a random Mexican restaurant that has some kind of burrito that if you eat it and you finish it, it's free and you get a t-shirt. And if you don't, you owe them $40.
Right. Yes.
There's a guy named Beard versus Food or something. There's like a British guy who's quite skinny, actually, but he's got a big beard. And he eats a lot of stuff. There's this dude, I think he might be from the kind of Northwest area. He's got like a headband on that he always wears. And his thing is, this is going to be impossible to describe over the imaginary radio, but let's just say he has he's eating a gigantic pizza, okay? Like a massive, ridiculously large pizza. He always has a point where he like folds up a piece of the pizza to like where it's almost more food than you could even get in your mouth. And he goes, "What do you know about that double pizza fold?" And then he takes a bite of it. Or let's say he's eating, Mexican food, and it's like some gigantic burrito. He'll like grab and it has, who knows what with it, some other kind of side dish you'd get. He will then get it and he'll somehow make it into this like monstrously large ball of something. He'll go, "What do you know about this mole ball?" And then he'll take a bite of it. Like and that's his catchphrase is like, "What do you know about this triple ham slam?" And then like points it at the camera and then he bites it. I now wait for him to say that in the video with anticipation.
Like waiting for the beat to drop.
Yes. And it's not good content, much like this show. You know what?
But there's a lot of it.
I realized, there's just a lot of it. I realized something just a moment ago, Andrew, as we were talking. I need to be careful about denigrating the show because what I'm doing, I don't have a problem denigrating my work or your work.
No, I know. I know you don't have a problem denigrating my work. I've been to the meetings.
And those are the ones you're invited to. You should hear the ones John and I have that you're not invited to.
Right.
No, but what I need to actually, I'm being serious. I referred to this show as slop already once. And it's like, if you're somebody who is donating hard-earned money to keep this going, or you're somebody who really enjoys the show, and then I'm calling it slop, it's insulting to the listeners. And I need to not do that. Because, again, I have such a, my self-esteem is such a crater that for some reason, I try to sort of self-medicate by being constantly negative about the show. But when I'm doing that, I'm also insulting something that these people really like.
Yeah.
Do that.
Yeah, I mean, that's my default to those self-deprecating humor. It's what got me through life, I guess.
Yeah.
So it's hard to kind of turn that off. But you make a good point. I mean, I guess you could apply that to our own relationships as well. Like, if we're constantly putting ourselves down, how does that make our partners feel or our friends feel or whatever?
It's an actual issue sometimes. I mean, not like a huge one, but I mean, Becca will say something nice about maybe like, "Oh, you looked nice in that suit," or whatever. And I am incapable of just saying, "Hey, thanks." I have to make some kind of a crack about myself and insult myself. And again, for her, it's like, "Hey, you're my boyfriend and I love you and I was paying you a compliment. And it's actually unfun for me when you undermine the nice thing that I said." So I need to work on that a little bit.
Yeah, me too. You should say hell yeah. From now on, when anybody compliments you on anything, you should just say hell yeah. Like you're
4 yeses and 1 hell yes?
You're accepting it and you're doubling down on it.
How do we feel about
4 yeses and 1 hell yeah?
Like, How do we feel about Sarah Palin being used as an audio drop on this show? We've decided that it's okay because first of all, she's out of public life. And also, she never actually got to a position of power where she could really do a lot of damage. Is that enough? Is that enough cover to play? Because I find her drops to be so funny. But also, there's a lot of stuff that used to be funny that's not funny anymore.
This sounds like a conversation that we should be having on Politics Road, Luke. I don't know if this is do the listeners
we did
know
have
about
this conversation on Politics Road.
Did we let the listeners in on Politics Road?
No, we didn't.
I don't know how deep we want to go on this, but there was this one road that we had to take from our Airbnb to the heart of Friendship, where we were doing the TBT-a-thon, of course. Yeah. And what was it? Probably less than 15-minute drive, right? 10-minute drive or something like that. I don't know.
Well, we can make it in 9 if you're trying to get to Wisconsin 106, and you just found out that you're supposed to be on the air in 9 minutes.
As long as a local newspaper reporter is not in front of you. Yes. But for some reason, usually on the way home.
For some reason.
Yeah, always on the way home, leaving the makeshift studio. We had done the show, but there was just this one part of the road where we were unintentionally falling into weird political conversations. And I don't think it's weird to be having politics at the top of your mind these days, because I don't even know if politics is the proper way to describe everything that's going on in the country, but it's rooted in politics, certainly. And we would just get into more and more kind of strange conversations. And by the end of the week, I started trying to make you guys laugh by thinking of like random old politicians and just like bringing them up and just seeing if I could get you guys to slip into that conversation without realizing what I was doing. But the Sarah Palin conversation, I do believe, came up. I believe I brought it up for some reason, and I believe it was not to troll you, but truly I think my question about her was, why does she not have a bigger stage in 2025 when all of the other lunatics do?
Yes.
When she was sort of the lunatic,
right.
Sort of.
She was, and I think if there were people that are saying don't play Sarah Palin, I think their reasoning might be because even though Sarah Palin did not successfully become vice president, she kind of got the camel's nose under the tent for people who are very clearly not intellectual.
Yeah, anti-intellectual too.
Anti-intellectual. And so you could kind of say that she, even though again she doesn't have any significant power these days, that she was sort of, she was unfortunately useful to the movement in a certain way. That would be the argument for not using the audio from her. Politics Road, the thing that kept happening was for like the first 3 days, things were not just politics, but like the darkest timeline of politics, just like utter sort of bleak, like everything is terrible and nothing will ever be okay again. We kept finding ourselves in some kind of conversation like that at about the same spot on what I then said why are we always talking politics here? There was a house that had this like some kind of a tree made of glass jars behind
bottles, right?
Bottles. And we were speculating on what it was, but then we were also talking about, like, I had sort of suggested, half jokingly, but a little bit not jokingly, we should drive, like, kind of down this shared road and get a better look at it, because it was behind this house that we could see from the road. And that was a pretty hard pass, I believe, by our colleague John Sklaroff.
Yes.
And I actually know where you came down on it, probably also not inclined towards driving onto private property.
Well, my whole thing was practical. It's just like the driveway would not have given us a better shot at it. Yeah. The driveway was solidly in the front of the house, and this thing was solidly in the back of the house.
But then we got into a whole conversation about basically, like, are we as sort of coastal elites, are we unsafe in rural America because of our beliefs or because of how we appear or whatever?
And for the record, I do not feel unsafe. Call it privilege or what, I do not. As much as I feel unsafe from my own thoughts at any given moment, I am lucky enough to not traverse the world feeling physically unsafe anywhere.
Right,
really.
and I don't either necessarily, or at least not a huge amount. Although I have to say, I would be more nervous going down a driveway in a part of the country where it's very likely that people do have guns and are pretty concerned with their privacy and their rights of standing their ground. I would be more nervous about that. I'd be more nervous going up and knocking on that kind of door than I would be knocking on a door in like urban America. That's just how I'm wired, I guess. But anyway, we just kept finding ourselves in these super intense kind of political worst case scenario conversations, again, at about the same point on the drive home. And then, yes, you eventually just, who did you eventually bring up? It wasn't like Bob Dole. It was somebody else. It was somebody from that era.
My question for you is, can we play this as an audio drop?
Am I different? Yeah. Have I changed my pants? No.
I didn't even know that was going to be so good. I just looked
Who
up
is that?
the best of James Trafficant, and that is the first.
That's who it was.
This is the first drop. And we were talking, I think it was our final night
That
on
was
Politics
such
Road.
a great poll.
And I got you guys going on Boehner somehow.
Yes, there you go.
And then,
Okay, it was a
starts as
John
joke.
Boehner party.
It starts as a joke, and then you, and then you guys were kind of done talking about Boehner, and then I asked you about how you feel about James Trafficant. So anyway, I was getting this
Brilliant.
tape ready just now. That was a needle drop, Luke. I just found something that says C-SPAN roll call, the best of James Trafficant,
Could
and
you
I hit
please
play
send me
at the
that audio,
beginning.
sir?
Yeah, I mean, I was a little bit nervous because I wasn't sure how potentially awful or dry or whatever.
Sure.
Let's just listen to a little bit more of this. Actually,
Absolutely.
Am I different? Yeah. Have I changed my pants? No.
Can we just...
Deep down, you know you want to wear wider bottoms. You're just not secure enough to do it.
Prove it, sucker. Prove it. Prove we're wrong.
Do I do my hair with a weed whacker? I admit.
Beam me up here.
Do I wear skinny ties? Yeah. Coach, wide ties make me look heavier than I am, and I'm heavy.
Yeah.
Can I ask, is it the person who put this on YouTube who added the music from
Yeah, because this is a
the
bunch of different.
Nutcracker?
This is a bunch of different clips. You think that's the Nutcracker? Is that what it is?
It very
You know
much
it?
is.
Okay, I don't know.
Oh,
the
yes,
Nutcracker
yes,
that
yes.
well.
I'm a power user of the Nutcracker
That is a
soundtrack
funny,
during the holidays.
That's a funny choice. There's nothing holiday related to it.
I've never been a quitter. I don't think I'll quit now. Mr. Gephardt said you should. Gephardt has no balls.
Whoa.
Beam me
Gephardt.
up. I say it's time for Congress to shove these illegal tactics right up the assets of the IRS.
I
Oh,
think
this is
it's
definitely
time
Nutcracker. You're
for
right,
our
sir.
president, Mr. Bush, to say, read my lips, get out. What we're saying is, read my pocketbook. Beam me up, Mr. Speaker. It's time.
God, he really leans on the beam me up quite a bit. And this wig gets ridiculous at times. Sometimes he looks like Marge Simpson hiding her rabbit ears.
It's sort of like a mood ring of hair. Like, the more kind of off-kilter it was during various, like, special orders and him just sort of standing up there in the well talking, like, you could kind of sense how sort of unhinged he was. Also, I wonder, is it misleading for him to say, which is a good joke, do I cut my hair with a weed whacker? Yes. When, in fact, that hair is something that presumably sits on a mannequin head at night when he goes to sleep.
Yeah, there's something. I mean, listen, people can do whatever they want for their appearance. They can wear whatever they want. But it's funny, like, let's say that from my perspective, and I don't think that this is right, but I do believe that the hair replacement and the baldness cover-uppy industry, everything that is related to, like, especially male baldness is rooted in shame. I listen to a lot of AM radios, and so it's all kind of like, you're not the man you used to be. It's like John Curley always telling us that we're lesser men. It makes me want to double down on my own baldness. I just want to, like, I'm just like, it makes me proud to be a bald. I'm not even joking, because I hate that. I just hate the desperation and the connection to manliness so much as I hear it emanate from my radio. Having said all that, so if I do believe that this is all kind of, all of these products is based on this sort of cultural shame about balding, you would argue that James Trafficant is wearing that wig because he doesn't want people to think of him as a bald.
Yes.
So you could just wear that and not say anything and sort of maybe assume that some people know, or, some people assume. But to actually call it out and make a reference to your haircuts is a doubling down.
Yes.
That is, you really think you're getting away with something,
Yes.
or you really want to.
Until you are indicted, and I believe they confiscate your hair system when they take your mugshot, which I believe also happened to Phil Spector. So that's the danger.
I'm actually inflating those because I feel like I can see James Trafficant mugshot without his wig, but maybe
I think he actually might have been allowed to wear it. I think that might have been the story. I do remember that.
Oh yeah, here it is. Oh, it's a wig, but it's all piled. It's like a beehive. It's like piled.
Yes. But is he wearing it in his mugshot?
Yeah, I'm looking at it now. On Getty Images, by the way, we just got
a little professional courtesy from the whatever law enforcement, because really they're supposed to probably take that away. in case you escape later and they need to find you.
How does a mugshot become something that I can buy off of Getty Images? How does Getty end up owning a mugshot, something that was taken with taxpayer dollars? But we did just get through a fundraiser.
This is the freelance photojournalist side of Andrew Walsh, everybody.
It doesn't make so, but I can download the large version of his mugshot for $500. We get the small one for $175. We'll talk about this later. We'll get the listeners involved.
Yeah,
but
the TB boys on
How in
this.
the world does Getty own the rights to that? That doesn't make any sense.
That would mean that whatever, I'm assuming this was federal. Because the thing about James, okay, we just spent about 10 minutes on James Trafficant with absolutely zero context for our listeners who might be, let's just be hopeful here, Andrew, under the age of, let's say, 30. James Trafficant was a congressman from Ohio, right?
Yeah.
And very powerful in Congress for many years, and then eventually went to jail for, for basically embezzlement or graft or, basically doing stuff you're not supposed to do. But he was also just kind of a legendary character. But yeah, his hair, I was really zeroed in on his not particularly convincing hair system throughout the years. That was what first drew my attention to him.
I'm on Business Insider's 10 mugshots of infamous arrested politicians, and the one at the top is another wig. It's Rod Blagojevich, by the way, for all the younger listeners.
Blagojevich?
This has got to be a wig, right? Did Blago not have a wig? Did he just have like striking hair? And am I totally wrong about what I'm saying?
I think his hair was so incredible that it looks like it's a system, but I think that's his real hair.
Oh, okay. Wow. This photo looks, and again, I want to be very clear. And maybe if there's somebody out there, like my grandfather used to wear a wig, I'm not trying to wig shame here. I'm really not. But when you see somebody kind of wearing a bad wig, it's worth noting, especially these former politicians. Do you want to hear who else is on this list? We have this is not a list of wiggy mugshots. This is just political. By the way. Yeah. I learned that Business Insider was started by a guy who did time for insider dealings of some sort. Look, can you, while I go through this list, will you fact check me on that? Because I swear I figured this out, or I learned this on the air with Genevieve one time. Look up like Business Insider in Wikipedia, because I think somebody, that you want to talk about like just owning it and then creating a successful brand.
Well, okay. Now, Insider Inc., formerly Business Insider Inc. Is that what you're talking about?
I'm guessing. Yeah, I'm assuming.
Well, it looks like Business Insider was founded by Henry Blodgett and Kevin Ryan. Now, Henry Blodgett was sort of a business blogger, right, for the Times for a long time, maybe. And then let's see. I'm trying to find another example of. I don't know if either of those guys, unless maybe this Kevin Ryan character.
Blodgett was charged with civil security.
Blodgett?
Blodgett was charged with civil.
Blodgett? Like, that's just a name that begs to be said in that way. Blodgett?
You need to.
I didn't know that about him.
I'd like to buy a jowl for that one. Blodgett was charged with civil securities fraud by the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission and settled the charges. He's the co-founder of Business Insider. So, like, it is a man who, I don't understand what the charges here are exactly, but I saw it written up somewhere else that basically it was some sort of like, basically dealing with inside information, somehow using inside information, I believe, to profit in some way. That I may be wrong about that.
The charges, I can just read this super fast. The charges arose from actions Blodgett took from 1999 to 2001 while at Merrill Lynch, which included issuing materially misleading research reports on internet companies and making exaggerated or unwarranted claims about them to customers.
Okay, so maybe not trafficking off of inside information, but certainly like using information to like deceive people and profit. I mean, it's an interesting.
Well, this is. But then the thing is, after following his settlement with the SEC, Blodgett resumed his career as a financial and economics writer and ended up contributing to Slate, the New York Times, Fortune, New York Magazine, and the Financial Times. So that was how he came to my attention. And it would have just never occurred to me that the guy who we're relying on to write about finance and all these things was also a guy who got busted for doing stuff you're not supposed to do. He really rehabilitated his image there pretty quickly.
Yes. Okay, I'm going to go through. He did not write this article, by the way. Okay. This is from 2012, Luke.
Nice.
You want to talk about. This is why I want to do it. It's such a time machine. All right, so the first one listed here is John Edwards, of course.
Okay, we know his hair is real.
We know his hair is real. And the interesting thing about this is these are
These are because of the haircut thing.
Oh, right. Of course. The expensive haircuts. Yeah.
I mean, what a time to be alive, Andrew, when an expensive haircut on, I think, Air Force One, maybe, could bring down. Well, I mean, his political career was brought down because of infidelity, but that was also a huge thing. Was the John Edwards expensive haircut? Like, what a time when that actually counted as something.
Yeah. The interesting thing is they're all smiling because they're public figures. And so the mugshots of public figures are always different. So he's like, well, this is going to be out there no matter what. So you might as well give your nicest smile to the
Try
camera.
To look nice.
Yeah. So you got him, you got Blago, you got Tom DeLay. 3 years in
DeLay went to jail?
I should have opened this up on Politics Road, man. We were missing out on this.
How soon can we be back on Politics Road? I know Harriet would enjoy it.
3 years in prison for money laundering for DeLay. Wow. Ted Stevens, 2008.
From Alaska?
Was he Alaska? That sounds right. Now
I think he was a senator from Alaska who famously, he used to get into it with this guy named David Obey from Wisconsin. I think he was a senator, and they used to yell at each other. And I think it was, don't quote me on the guy who said this, but somebody in the, like, again, on the well of the Senate accused Ted Stevens of being a founding member of the Flat Earth Society.
Oh, geez.
Because he was very anti-science or something. Anyway, I just remember Ted Stevens, he was a kook. What did he go for?
He went in for it says a slew of ethics violations.
Okay.
And then it says a year later, the judge set aside the conviction, claiming prosecutors mishandled the case. He's not smiling, by the way. He looks pretty rough. George Ryan, Illinois Governor George Ryan. This story doesn't ring a bell to me at all. Convicted 2006 corruption charges. Wide stance.
Larry Craig
pleaded guilty to misdemeanor charge.
Tappa. That was a crazy story
it
too.
Certainly
because
was.
He was he's Idaho, right? He was a senator from Idaho.
Oh, okay, I didn't remember
And I
that.
believe he had. I'm going to just guess now, and that being a Republican senator from Idaho, he had, I'm sure, outwardly had very bad takes on the LGBTQ plus community. And and particular pieces of legislation, et cetera, that would have probably limited rights for folks. And then he's in. I think it was the airport, Andrew, where you and I just were.
I
think
knew
it was the
an
Minneapolis.
airport. I didn't know it was that airport.
I think he had a layover between D.C. and Idaho, and I think the stopover was in Bloomington. You happy, John? And he was in Bloomington, Minnesota, and he went into the bathroom that I guess maybe there was information had been circulated. This was a place where you could sort of meet other people, meet other men for like a sexual hookup was the rumor. And that you would do something where you would tap your feet in a certain way and you would, indicate to the person in the stall next to you that that's what you were there for. Well, for whatever reason, I guess the Minnesota airport police decided that they were going to crack down on this, and I think he went in there and he tapped his feet to an undercover agent. Right?
Yes. An undercover officer said he made sexual advances in the bathroom.
And then he said, "No, I didn't." And by the way, of course, officially allegedly a heterosexual married man, again full of what we would say "quote unquote" family values. Right? Said, "No. I just have a wide stance when I'm in the
That's
stall."
right. That was his excuse. This one I don't know. Democratic Rep Dan Rostenkowski.
Oh, Dan Rostenkowski.
Tell me.
God, that's what I can tell you is that I recognize the name.
Okay,
it
mail
like
fraud. It says 17-month prison
period
sentence.
of time where basically like a lot of these dudes from the Midwest. And I know Tom DeLay's not from the Midwest, but like what this is reminding me of is like there was a period of time where like a lot of politicians were going to jail for like they were getting busted on ethics stuff and then they were going to jail. And I don't think that the politicians of today are more ethical. I just think that it's so polarized now. It's so hyper partisan that basically if a person from your team does something bad, you just circle the wagons around them. Like there isn't enough bipartisanship to even get somebody like kicked out of Congress or the House if they're, unless they're George Santos. They have to be unbelievably flagrant with it.
Although, I mean, maybe this is just my own political bias here, but I think that the people on the left are way more quick to kick people out. Like I don't think do we see that kind of circling of the wagons as much on the left? In fact, I mean, I would almost argue that with what's his name again? Speaking of Minnesota, but the comedian SNL comedian Minnesota
Norm
senator. How am I doing this?
Stuart Smalley is his name.
That's it. Oh my God, that's so embarrassing. But anyway, you know what I mean? Like a lot of people say, boy, we really kind of like maybe didn't hear his side as much. I'm not weighing in on that, but you hear that. And with this, are you familiar with the New York City financier?
Jeff Epstein?
Jeff Epstein, are you familiar with him? You know, like people are like, well, the left isn't going to like that Clinton is on the list too. And everybody's like, yeah. Like, release the list. Like, if that's true. Like, of course. Like, you think that we're circling around protecting Bill Clinton from this shit?
Yeah, it's, by the way, Al Franken.
Al Franken.
I think of.
I'm sorry. I dragged you down with me on that one.
Well,
like I drowned so much on that shit, and you're always just, like, saving me.
When an Andrew is drowning, don't get in the water with you.
Yeah, I don't know why I'm swearing so much today. Sorry about that. I can't beep him anymore. We're just going to put the explicit label on the show. But yeah, sorry about that. I thought for sure you would have that, but instead but a very frustrating moment for the listeners.
For some reason, it really was. I'm sorry, everybody. But like Al Franken, for some reason, Al Franken seems very far away from what his name should be to me right now. Like something about him being from Minnesota, it's the fact that we did know him mostly as Stuart Smalley on SNL. Like I feel like he should rethink if his name should be Al Franken or not. But yes, I agree with you 100% that the left, because we're obsessed with holding ourselves to a high standard, regardless of what's going on the other side, we're very quick to eject people from our. Which again, generally speaking, I think probably is a good thing when when the evidence is pretty clear. But yeah, I mean the Al Franken thing was I do think some people look back on that and wonder if there might have been a better way to handle that as opposed to just kicking him right on out.
And who's the Democratic politician like in the past year who was charged? And he and his wife, right, were knee deep in all kinds of fraud, knee deep in the hoopla. This is
sure. Yeah, he's Bob Menendez.
And like there was not hey, there were calls for him to resign, like kind of immediately from his own party.
I mean, that guy's story is so crazy to me. I've been kind of obsessed with that story. That's why I could remember his name.
Yeah.
Because I was like reading about it obsessively, because the thing with Bob Menendez was he already got in trouble for this and got found not guilty like years ago. Like he got the incredibly rare get out of jail free card. Like I assume the feds came for him for other stuff like this where he's basically taking bribes and stuff he was accused of. He somehow beat the case in court.
The jury was unable to reach a verdict, it said in 2015. I just happened to land right on that part of the story.
And I mean, can you, and I think he was looking at very serious time on that. And can you imagine you doing this whole thing and then you have to go to court and then you get so lucky that there's like a hung jury and now it's like you get your whole life back and then you immediately start putting gold bars, ill-gotten gold bars in your loafers that you got for basically being a foreign agent for I forget the particular government. I think it might have been Egypt, but it's just
good
crazy.
memory. It's Egypt, yeah.
It's just crazy that he skated on it once and then he just went right back. And by the way, his wife sounds like a real piece of work as well. I have to say, the whole thing seemed like a kind of honestly just desserts for these two, because there is video of Bob Menendez, I think, proposing to his wife in song in front of the Taj Mahal.
Oh.
That is just one of the more unhinged things I've ever seen. It's one of those things that's supposed to be like really romantic, but it's just so look at me, Louie. And they met, kind of like later in life, and she was somebody who was sort of it would appear very obsessed with trying to have wealth and status, and then you have this Bob Menendez guy who has status and some amount of wealth, and so they kind of team up, but then they both just absolutely sort of play into each other's worst impulses. But then they also would put all these things on social media about their love affair they were having, and every single thing they put up was so incredibly cringe.
So I didn't realize that they were married or got engaged during the kind of modern times, and I'm watching this now.
How much of that did I get right? Is it at the Taj Mahal?
It does look. I'm guessing this is the Taj Mahal in the background. It looks like it.
Can we hear a little bit of this?
Yeah, I was going to ask you, should we? Because I'll tell you what, the visuals of this alone are freaking me out. And yes, by the way, it is posted to YouTube, but it's filmed upsy downsy, so there's tons of black space on the edges, and we don't see anything else that we should be seeing.
Get everybody in the picture. Once they're done.
Okay, I need to describe the body language.
Is she like sitting on his lap or something?
Oh my,
crazy?
that would almost be more normal because I could say she's sitting on his lap.
Yeah.
You would understand what that means. But she's sitting. So she's sitting in like clearly this touristy area. I think it's the Taj Mahal in the background. She's sitting on like a bench, kind of a nice bench on like this sort of nice stone kind of patio in a grassy area. She's sitting. He's standing behind her with 1 foot on the ground and 1 foot up on the bench. So she's sort of leaning back, sort of into the I guess crotch. She's sort of leaning back into his crotch, looking, but he's standing, so her head is fully pulled all the way back, like she's looking up to the heavens, but really she's trying to look into his eyes while he looks down into her eyes. I would use it as a show pick, except I'm not going to.
Get everybody in the picture. Once they're done.
And this is Menendez singing, right?
Yes.
This is sitting U.S. Senator Bob Menendez singing.
Never be enough. Powers of gold are still too little. These hands could hold the world.
You don't need to just do a regular Wednesday segment called Politics Road. Because we are like one bad idea away from getting into that John Ashcroft tape, I'll tell you what.
But it's only about politicians from 20 to 30 years ago.
Exactly.
That's really the sweet spot, because they can't hurt us anymore.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean?
Let the eagle soar.
We have to use the James Trafficant mugshot as the show picks.
Oh, yeah. Well, if I can buy it off of Getty for $500.
Yeah, I'm looking it up now. I forgot how just truly ridiculous that. I mean, in that shot, it was extra bad. And I'm with you, Andrew. By the way, I don't want to shame anybody about whatever they're doing with their kind of decisions around their hair or their hair systems or things like that. But I do think that it's one of those things where my sense of it is, and you're talking to a person who like puts powder in their hair so that my hair looks less thin. Like I am very plugged into this world of shame.
But you don't have plugs, just to be clear. That's a different kind of.
Yeah, that's a whole different thing. Although I'm not against it, and I do hear those John Curley ads, and it does kind of get my attention. But like, actually, I heard Joel McHale. It's the second Joel McHale reference this week, Andrew. It's a big week for him on the show. Because, I knew Joel McHale, didn't know him. I knew of Joel McHale when he was on Almost Live. He was very young. He was probably in his early 20s, and he was kind of like the young, cool cast member, so I identified with him a lot, and I thought he was very funny. But he was a person who definitely, was showing the early signs of baldness, of male pattern baldness. And then as he became more famous, he suddenly just had more and more hair. Mm-hmm. And I always feel kind of like an interesting relationship with that when you've been observing someone who's kind of famous, but from back before they were famous.
Yeah.
And then I saw him on an interview the other day, and he said, "Oh yeah," he goes, "I'm on my 5th hair transplant," because he has like a thick, lustrous, beautiful head of hair now. And he goes, "Oh yeah, this is like 5 hair transplants worth of hair." He goes, "This is all fake. I mean, it's real. It's his own hair. It's growing."
It looks good because usually you can spot kind of bad plugs.
And good for him. Good for him destigmatizing it.
Yeah, no, I agree with that.
Like I'd so much rather. It's almost like this Deion Sanders thing from yesterday. It's like I'd so much rather he just say, yeah, I work in a very vanity based industry, and I just felt like I needed to do this, and so that's what I did. Like no shame at all. And so I want to make sure that we're not like shaming people who are using whatever they're using to look the way they want to look. But I do think like in the case of somebody like Trafficant, it's like dial it down. Because ideally you would just like your hair to go kind of unnoticed and uncommented on. Don't go in and pick out the craziest hair system that you can, the craziest wig or toupee. Is there a point at which it stops being a toupee and starts being a wig?
I think so. Let me tell you what I've always assumed about this, because I said my grandfather wore a wig, but I think he wore a toupee.
Right.
I think the toupee is a smaller thing that just goes on top when you still have a lot of side hair.
Little
right?
hat.
A little hat, but
top of your head that doesn't have hair on it.
Right?
Yeah.
I think you're the one. I think I was like a full-on adult when I learned, and I think at your knee, but not in the Bob Menendez way.
No, you were sitting on a bench. I was standing behind you,
and you were looking
singing.
You were looking down at my eyes as I looked straight up into yours, kind of upside down.
That was a weird Hey Dummies video.
It got the numbers we were shooting for, though. That was the important thing. When you explained to me that Hair Club for Men was not some sort of a medical treatment, it's just a fancy wig.
Yes.
I always assumed it was some sort of procedure.
No, but they were the ones, I'm kind of using the term hair system somewhat cheekily here, but they were, I think, or maybe it was Bosley. But another one where Bosley is, I don't think that their business model was like replace, putting new hair onto your head that was permanently affixed to your scalp. I think Bosley was also one of those things that was kind of like a wig or a toupee system.
I'd never heard of Bosley before. Is that the laughing dog from the Cape Crusader series?
Hey, you know what? We got a lot of emails about that.
We really did. Can we get to those later on in the show? Yeah, I think that would be really.
That
funny,
was an interesting development.
Yeah,
but no, I mean, I was very concerned when I was in my early 20s. I started to become very concerned about what was going on with my hair, and I started to clock all of those ads, and there was a period of time where in the 90s and 2000s where if you turned on a television after a certain hour, it was probably a Bosley Hair Club ad, like an infomercial running all the time. They would just wear those things out. And the thing with probably the same thing with Hair Club for Men and this Bosley thing was, it was some kind of it was a thing that you had to have tightened down on the regular. So it was actually a pretty smart business model.
So you are going in. So that's maybe where I'm getting the sort of idea of it being more than just a wig that you keep in your drawer or whatever.
Right. No, it's a system. And you have to go in and every month or two and have it kind of adjusted and re-glued or re-tightened down, however they do it exactly. But it's a pretty smart business model because you can sell the person the hair system, but then they have to keep coming in to get it kind of maintained and get the maintenance. And funnily enough, that world of sort of, I guess putting a toupee or a wig on has really come back on TikTok. In fact, there was a New York Times article about it recently. There's these really interesting, entertaining TikTok pages where these folks that I don't know if they make them, but they somehow buy these very convincing hair pieces, and then they'll film the whole procedure of putting them onto a client, and they're pretty convincing, I gotta say.
Yeah, and I'm with you again. Now I feel a little bit sheepish because, of course, your attempts at trying to have longer, more flowing hair, whatever they say in the sexier hair, are well documented.
But you're
on the show.
Absolutely right.
But there's
it's all shame based.
But you do talk about it, and maybe that's it for me. I mean, I don't know. Anybody can do whatever they want, but I guess in my own life is just kind of I don't like the way these things are marketed and that they leverage shame. And by the way, I don't think that I think this is one of the rare cases where men are more the target of this sort of shame based advertising when mostly it is women in so many various ways that are very superficial too. And I get up on my high horse about that. In fact, Genevieve, as a woman, is less bothered by that. We talk about that a lot on after these messages. So it's something that is very clearly triggering for me. People can take whatever products, or as long as they're as long as they feel like it's healthy for them to do it, that's fine. I think maybe the deception and the marketing is what bothers me.
I think the idea of you going to bed at night and wishing that your hair would fall out at a faster rate,
just
so as to push back against toxic masculinity, is absolutely wonderful.
I'm out there. I'm pulling on it. I'm tugging on
it. I love this act of protest from you.
Yeah, no, that's the way I justify my looks.
That's great. I mean, whatever works.
Hello and welcome to Top Story.
Our top story today involves an incident at a Chuck E. Cheese recently, which, had a few different. I don't know if you got a chance to take a look at this piece yet, Andrew.
No, I haven't.
I feel like there was a period of time where we were kind of the go-to show for Chuck E. Cheese related content.
Yeah, because we're serious people.
Well, because I think we had found out this data point, and who knows if it was apocryphal, and I use that advisedly, sir. Who knows if it was apocryphal or not? But that, there's some kind of there was something with Chuck E. Cheese where it was maybe the number one restaurant that had the police called out to it for sort of domestic unrest, because it was this intersection of kids' birthday parties that were being attended by parents who were no longer married to each other, and they also served beer. So just a real kind of perfect storm. And it's a friggin' Chuck E. Cheese, which, like, if you're a kid, it's heaven on earth. But if you're an adult, it's hell on earth. Like, it would seem to me anyway, just to put the noise and all of that. So this is a story from the New York Times. This is written by Victor Mather. Headline, "Come with me, Chucky. Mouse arrested on credit card fraud charges." So what basically happened was, again, there's so many parts of the story that kind of were surprising to me. The first is that somebody was arrested in the full Chuck E. Cheese uniform at a Chuck E. Cheese, with the head on and everything, and had to be walked out in handcuffs fully Chuck E. Cheese.
Oh, my God. This feels like a setup.
Which seems like it would have probably been, scarring for some of the children who were there. But the way the story really starts is there is a woman who is a regular at the Chuck E. Cheese. So just let that sink in. She goes to the Chuck E. Cheese so much that at some point she leaves her credit card there accidentally. And now she basically starts to see that her credit card is being used at different places, like gas stations and other things. And instead of just doing the thing that everybody else would do, which is just cancel the credit card, she starts going to the places where the credit card was being used and asking them if she can see the security footage. And on the security footage, because she's such a regular at the Chuck E. Cheese, she recognizes one of the guys from Chuck E. Cheese. So, again, the fact that this woman didn't just turn her credit card off and challenge the erroneous charges, the fact that she went all, gumshoe on it, and that also, by the way, the places let her look at the footage, that seems like some time out of their day at the Citgo or whatever.
Yeah.
And then the fact that she's such a regular at Chuck E. Cheese, like, oh, that's Terry. Actually, we know the actual person's name, I think is, I can find it here on the fly. Like, Jermel Jones is the person who's alleged to have stolen the credit card. She's like, oh, it's Jermel from the Chuck E. Cheese that I go to all the time. Can you imagine being an adult and being being a regular at Chuck E. Cheese?
I know, that is really funny. I wonder if they automatically put 20% on her tab for leaving her card behind the bar.
Right, like the bar the next day.
Yeah, that is.
By the way, is there I don't know when the last time you did that was, but like, is there a better use of 20% than the auto? Like, I have no problem whatsoever with a bar auto charging my credit card or my debit card if I left it there and did not.
That's a tip, right? That's
a tip anyway.
Tip. Yeah, and you'd be leaving that anyway. And honestly, is there a safer place other than the bank to leave your credit card?
Right. Like, first of all, just the wave of relief when you go to the bar the next day and you realize they do still have your card. And then sometimes, again, thankfully, this is less the case in my life these days, but it used to be fairly frequent, where you'd kind of go in kind of sheepishly, and I'd be like, I think I left my card here last night. And they'd pull it out. It would already have been run, and they'd be, okay, just so you know, we did 20% on it. And I'd be like, you could have done 80%.
Yeah, right.
I could kiss you right now and get kicked off of the Las Vegas Raiders football team.
God, what?
What is that story about?
I don't know. I read the New York Times version of it, and there was
Pete Carroll, no comment
as to whether or not somebody was booted from the team for kissing a teammate on the top of the head. And then I was it was Diana Rossini who, I think, wrote or contributed to that report. Did we read the same report this morning? And it felt like there were a bunch of facts facts regarding this that didn't connect, and they just were not able to tell us what sometimes you read a New York Times piece and they're being so careful to not go outside the lines of journalism and truth. Sometimes some of our listeners would argue they don't do that. But in a straight ahead story like this, they don't want to, be slanderous or libelous or whatever. And so they're not telling you certain parts of the story, and you're supposed to fill in the assumptions on your own. But sometimes I'm not smart enough to fill in the assumptions. Was this fella maybe having a breakdown, or was there some sort of homophobia on the team? Like, what was going on with this?
I think it was a couple of things. I think the Raiders wanted out of his contract because they owed him $35 million of guaranteed money. And he had some injury, something called a Jones fracture.
Yeah.
Which I never even heard of.
Me neither.
And I think the thought on the team was he was not working hard enough on his rehab. Like, I think the team was starting to kind of feel like we're not going to get our money's worth out of this player. And so I think they're smart enough to say it wasn't because of this kiss. The story was that he playfully kissed a fellow player on the top of their head, and that player took offense to it.
Okay, so you even got the playfully part at least. I couldn't even get that in the
I might have
story.
I might have inserted that.
But I mean, that's the thing. We're left to try to piece this all together. The headline is Pete Carroll offers no comment on Christian Wilkins' alleged kiss of Raiders teammate, and you're like, what? Football players kissing? Like, you got my attention, and then you click into the story, and there's nary a reference to the kiss again.
Okay, so here is from an insider talking to ESPN. The interaction was described as, quote, playful.
Okay.
But the teammate did not see it that way.
Okay.
It's not known what the fellow player did following the incident. So what I think is the Raiders are smart enough to know that they can't fire this guy. It's going to be harder to kick him off the team and, by the way, claw back the $35 million. That's really what they want to do because he playfully kissed someone on the forehead.
Right.
So they're chalking it up to him violating the rules of his contract by not rehabbing with proper vigor. So they're still trying to get out of paying him the $35 million, but not officially because he kissed someone playfully on the forehead, but because he wasn't working hard enough to rehab, which is kind of interesting because that seems like that could be, God, now we're just getting into like how NFL salaries are structured. But like one of the things about the NFL is very little of the money is guaranteed. That's the whole story with the NFL because guys get hurt so much. So when you do actually have guaranteed money, when you have money that the team has to pay you no matter what, but they also reserve the right to say you weren't rehabbing, like you get injured, and now that's when the guaranteed money is supposed to be kicking in. Like, hey, I'm sorry that you have to pay me this $35 million, but that was how the contract was drawn up. But they can go, oh, you weren't actually trying hard enough to get healthy, so we just don't have to pay that. It would seem like then there's effectively no guaranteed money in the NFL.
Here's another thing that I found confusing about this. Now, this is when I read this morning, and so maybe now that I'm a little bit more awake, it'll make more sense. But the story has the headline. This is technically The Athletic, which is kind of under the New York Times banner. But you have the headline that I just described. The coach won't say whether or not the kiss had anything to a teammate kiss had anything to do with the.
It was only a kiss.
Decision.
How did it end up like this? It was only a kiss.
And then
when reached for comment, Brandon Flowers said.
Then the story goes on to describe the kind of like back and forth the team had with him over the course of a year about his injuries and rehab, everything that you just said. And then it doesn't really mention the kiss, except for a very brief mention of it, nothing more than we see in the headline. And then it gets into this. Defensive tackle Adam Butler was asked about it. This is what he said. We pretty much just kind of moved on from the situation. I really don't want to comment further on it. So it doesn't say that he was the one who was kissed, but am I to assume here that Adam Butler was the kissee?
It kind of feels like that.
Feels
like,
that
why
way.
would you be going to him for a response? And why would he offer a response if he wasn't the person who got kissed?
But I feel like they don't specifically say that. And then the quote goes on to say, I really don't want to comment further on it, but I will say that whatever you're going through as a person, athlete, non-athlete, whoever, whatever your struggle is, if you got something going on in life, just talk to somebody, get some therapy. Whatever your deal is your deal. Somebody out there in this world full of billions of people is willing to listen. They're willing to listen, hear you out, and help you work through whatever you need to work through, but don't make any hasty decisions. Get help. And that is just in the story without linking it to anything
That's from
that
Butler?
we're talking about. That is attributed to Adam Butler, defensive tackle.
Huh.
And it never specifically says that he is the one who was kissed. But I guess that's what I mean about this story. It just has a whole bunch of like unconnected like storyline, not storylines, but unconnected facts or information that I can't piece together. And it's dangerous if I piece it together because I'm not that smart and I'm going to come out with a really wrong story here.
And also the amount of ass slapping that happens in professional men's sports that apparently doesn't threaten anyone's masculinity, but you plant a little smooch on the forehead and it's some kind of a federal case.
Yeah, I don't know. You're
So back to
a
Chuck
real
E. Cheese.
forehead smoocher, so you have your own
Back
biases.
to Chuck E. Cheese. So the police now, the person who had their credit card pilfered, the Chuck E. Cheese regular, goes to the police and presents them with the evidence. And so then they go to the Chuck E. Cheese and they see the guy who she says is the person who's been using her credit card. And they come in to talk to the guy a little bit. And then, so after verifying that the man matched the woman's description, officers re-entered the restaurant, only to learn that the employee had now donned the mouse suit. So he wasn't Chuck E. Cheese when they showed up. He was just like a regular guy working there. And we can only sort of speculate that his escape plan involved getting into the Chuck E. Cheese outfit so that then the police wouldn't know which one was him.
Not a terrible idea, I guess.
Honestly, in a pinch, what I would have done is I would have just run out the back door of the restaurant myself. But the idea that he got into the Chuck E. Cheese outfit to try to obscure his identity is pretty funny. The New York Times interviewed a woman named Courtney Guggenheimer, who is a math professor from Davenport, Florida, who was at the restaurant with her children. And she said, we were eating, and they did the announcement that Chuck E. Cheese was going to come out. Mrs. Guggenheimer said in the interview, my 6-year-old wanted a picture, so we followed him. At the same time, a cop out of nowhere grabs his arm and says, Chucky's busy right now. He says that to the kid. Cop is arresting Chuck E. Cheese and says to the 6-year-old, Chucky's busy. Face it, kid.
Yeah, it's like
this is Chuck E. Cheese.
I feel like that's why I feel like the cops were. There's something weird about this story. They were waiting for this moment, I feel like, to go viral.
But the thing is,
sort of.
I would say that if the guy had been in the outfit when they showed up.
Yeah.
But I'm saying it sounds like he wasn't in the outfit at all. They interview him, and then they go back out to the car for some reason, and then that's when he puts... I don't think they knew this was coming.
Yeah, I guess so. Can I read this next part, which I'm assuming you're about to read? So we hear from the customer, Ms. Guggenheimer.
Guggenheimer, by the way, how rude.
What did I say?
I'm saying that... it's too close to Guggenheimer.
Oh, yeah.
For it to be Guggenheimer.
Yes.
Don't have a name that's exactly like a famous name, but 2 letters off, please. That's rude.
But then the New York Times quotes the police officer in the police report. So as the police officer wrote in his report, quote, I grabbed his right arm while giving the verbal instruction, Chucky, come with me. Chucky. The mascot was cuffed and taken out to a police car still wearing his costume. Only at the car was his costume head removed, revealing the human being beneath for all to see. And then it says, Ms. Guggenheimer says, they set the head on the SUV. All the kids were watching this. My kid said, that's not Chuck E.?
What a way to find out that there's no Santa Claus.
But wait, what is better? What is better to learn? That it was a human being inside the outfit the whole time and this human being was flawed like other human beings and was arrested? Or that there's one Chuck E. Cheese, it's a real being, and he's a perp?
What is...
In other words, if you don't take off the mascot head, then the kids just think that Chuck E. Cheese was arrested.
Right, that's a good point. You need to
do you want your kids to think that
that Chuck E. Cheese is doing crime, that Charles Entertainment Cheese is real, is a mouse or a rat maybe, and is also doing crimes? Or do you want them to learn far too young that it's human beings inside of the outfit and that those are the people that do crimes, but the reputation of Charles Entertainment Cheese as an idea remains unblemished?
I think it's better for the kids to see him defrocked.
And you can no longer tell people about our fried pickles.
Exactly.
Hey, it looks like this kind of public outcry around the Little Red Hen may have sort of worked, at least in the short run. We were talking about this a while ago, that there was this bizarre garbage dispute with this bar that we love from Seattle called the Little Red Hen, and that they had this dumpster that they were sort of sharing with another business, except the other business was paying the dumpster fees, and then the owner of the building didn't like that arrangement, and so kind of ruined that for the Red Hen, which was going to, according to the owner, add like $40,000 a year to their bottom line, to their costs. So then there was this kind of fight. Then the owner of the building said, you've got to vacate the premises. And boy, I mean, I saw stuff flying around the internet, these kinds of petitions and things people were signing. And apparently, according to KUOW, there was a rally in front of the Hen, complete with music. This is a piece by Amy Radel. Fans of Little Red Hen, banjos and fiddles in hand, rally to save Honky Tonk. Mm-hmm. And it seems like it might have worked because they have been given a 30-day extension by the owners to try to work this out, to try to solve this. I think I don't have the quote right in front of me, but the owners of the building said something like, as long as the owner of the Little Red Hen makes a good faith effort to work this out.
I did not dig into it. I'd only seen that headline the other day. So they have 30. I mean, they have 30 more days, as you said. My question is, how incentivized is the property owner to working this out? And you think pretty incentivized because that space isn't really. you say that space isn't as kind of as valuable without the operating bar there, and it might not. And I guess we have seen that played out in what would seem to be some areas of Seattle that seem like they would be pretty, attractive places to start a business. But then the tenants move out, and then because the rent goes up, and then they just sit there. But it's like that's Green Lake. I just feel like anybody would want that space in Green Lake, right?
I haven't been there in so long, but like the things that stand out to me are the building is actually pretty old, the physical building, and it's dark in there. I mean, by design, it's a bar. I guess you could maybe put windows in. It's also it's not right on Green Lake, which is kind of appealing to like there's other little restaurants that look out on the lake and you can sit outside. It's sort of back one from there. Like it just seems to me that probably the best thing you could do with this dark kind of old building is leave in a classic bar that people already really like.
Yeah.
As opposed to like remodeling it and trying to put it. I mean, the like success rate of bars and restaurants is kind of so low anyway. So my theory was that I wondered if the owners had some long-term plan to try to actually just raise the building and put up something bigger and fancier, which has happened all around there with like what used to be the Vitamilk processing place, which was weirdly owned by friends of my aunt and uncle, which was like my brush with celebrity as a kid was my aunt and uncle know the people that own the Vitamilk distributor. But like,
can't
anyway,
dine out on that anymore, can you? Now that the building's gone?
I'm still trying. You just heard it. But I also think it's possible that the owners just got their feelings hurt. Like they were just annoyed the owners of the building got their feelings hurt from the bar owner. Like I literally think that might have been part of this too, because like assuming that the guy who owns the bar has been paying his rent on time. And so, like, I feel kind of like, why would they, unless there's some secret plan to tear the building down, why would they try to, like, basically kick out this tenant that's been there forever and that also probably pays the rent on time, again, I'm assuming a lot there, and is probably going to be more durable than some other thing that you have to put in there. And also, by the way, if you own the building, you might have to pay for the remodeling of making it nicer for someone else to come in.
Well, that's the thing is I'm sure that if you get a new tenant or like you'd have to do a major renovation or you'd, like you said, raise it and then like build something else there. Let me ask you a question. I want you to check one of my assumptions here because I only read that original Seattle Times article about it and I haven't like kind of dug into these follow-up stories or even Radl's reporting, which I'd sort of seen floating around there. I think I remember from the original reporting that this the property owners bought the property somewhat recently, right? 10 or less years. And I am just assuming that they are, what would you say, like an absentee property owner, right? Like I don't get the impression that they live in Seattle or give two hoots about the culture that has been built around this particular bar. I just get the impression that this is just like some sort of faceless property owner that's just like owns this. And so it doesn't have really any investment. They just want to do whatever is expedient and doesn't interfere with their cash flow.
Well, that's what I was thinking. But again, I think if they were to kick them out, my prediction would be a year from now, that would just be shuttered.
Yeah.
And there'd be no cash flowing.
Right.
So that's why I have the hurt feeling theory or just the annoyance theory. Just like literally like, because there is a person who owns it, who owns the building now and who is named, the company has some kind of like the property management company has some kind of incredibly corporate name like RK3 Holdings or something. But then there's a particular person whose name keeps getting associated with it. And that person basically I could see a world in which they just kind of thought that the owner of the hen was kind of an asshole.
Yeah.
And at some point they just were like, okay, fine. If you're going to be like doing weird stuff with the dumpsters and if you're going to be like complaining about us on Facebook or whatever, you're just going to be annoying. 30 days, get out.
Yeah, yeah.
Like I almost could see that being, and now it's like people are showing up with banjos and also, again, maybe cooler heads are prevailing. Maybe they're looking at the real economics of it going, how soon would we have to have somebody else in there for this to actually math out for us, know? And so now they're like kind of extending it and hopefully anyway, they'll figure out a way to keep it around because again, this is not anything particularly new for us to say, but it's just like, so many things from Seattle that were beloved from my younger days are just gone now. So it would be kind of cool to see one of them actually manage to stick around.
Yeah, I agree. Obviously, we're rooting for that.
Here I go once again with the email. Every week, I hope that it's from a female. Oh, man. It's not from a female.
All right, Andrew.
Yes.
We had a little foreshadowing.
Yes, we did.
Of the emails today.
Now,
because
I
you
love.
want to take us back?
Yeah, I love this, but I'm going to need your help reminding me of all the different cartoon names. So you are often referring to this giggling cartoon dog from the 1970s, I want to say, and you're associating him with the wrong cartoon. What is the dog's name, and what do you usually say he's in?
The thing that I've mistakenly said was that the dog, which is named Muttley, which I think is actually. That is the dog's name.
Yes.
So I got the name of the dog right. But I always say that the dog Muttley is in the show Clutch Cargo, which it's not in that show. It's in a show, a different show that I can't remember the name of. I'm scrolling Blue Sky here trying to find the.
Yeah, and I think I found what's going to clear this up a little bit. So you always say, "Oh, Muttley from Clutch Cargo," and I have known of this dog. Like when you say that, I can totally picture what you're talking about. But I had never heard of Clutch Cargo. But I never really kind of investigated that. And then our buddy Lynn posted on Blue Ski the other day. I said. The more I think about this, the more it makes me laugh. I swear each time Luke Burbank says that Muttley was from Clutch Cargo, I can hear the tens of tens screaming out in pain. Clutch Cargo's dog is Paddlefoot. Muttley, the laughing, snickering dog, is the sidekick to Dick Dastardly. Obviously. And so I was laughing at Lynn saying that this was a really painful, and Lynn, I think that is the joke there, that tons of people are obsessed with this mistake the way Lynn clearly is. And so we wanted to hear from listeners, like, is this something that actually you've heard on the show before and it upsets you, this re-airing of this mistake over and over again? And also, quick side note here. Yesterday on the show, I quickly mentioned that I love an email that has a longer subject line than the actual contents of the email. And I think that's also what listener Jennifer is responding to, because I received a email this morning with the subject line, in response to the request to email, if we knew whether Luke was mentioning the wrong cartoon dog, ... Then the body of the email says, absolutely not.
But that was an outlier.
Now, that was only one of two that I got, and then the second one I got could not be more the polar opposite, both in the brevity of the subject line and then the length of the email.
So I got one from Patty.
Okay.
The subject line, Muttley. The Penelope Pit Stop cartoon is where I remember Muttley from. I indeed shouted out loud at work while listening to the episode. So let's see.
Do you have
Kent...
Oh, yeah. Okay, go ahead. And then I'll read Max's if you don't mind.
Okay, sure. Kent just sent in like the subject line Muttley and others, and then it's just like a screen cap of a bunch of these kind of cartoon characters from that era and from that universe.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to take that as also Kent cared about me getting that mixed up, because Kent appears to be a fan of this, although Kent does not say specifically like I threw my phone. But I'm putting Kent in the I do care about this stuff camp.
Well, I like it when Lynn feels seen, and I think Lynn is going to feel seen here. When Max says, Lynn is not wrong, I also screamed out in pain. I have for years, all caps, wondered what Clutch Cargo was and why you associate it with the cartoon character I knew from watching Wacky Races on sick days. Dick Dastardly's snickering dog Muttley. Thank you for the on-air correction, and sorry for the piling on, because you fixed it, but I just wanted to validate Lynn on this one, and you legit on the air invited these emails. So that's from Max.
Since we started the show today, Andrew, I got a DM from our friend Michelle.
Yeah?
In Minnesota. Subject line, I know Muttley. Body of the email, because I am old.
Okay, there you go. There you go.
And I take that also to mean that Michelle knew the difference between these folks, and that and it was noted. So that's a lot of folks in the we do care about this stuff. We were throwing our phones. This does matter to us camp. So Lynn, you are validated.
Yes. And maybe even more than you even wanted, actually, at this point.
There was one more from Anna. Anna, the subject line, Dick Dastardly. Hi, Luke. I did know who Muttley was, and that he was paired with Dick Dastardly. I have never watched Clutch Cargo and could have never named his sidekick. Take it easy on yourselves. I mean, we all have to be wrong once in a while. Signed, Anna.
I'm also... go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead.
My email wants to... The auto response... The email wants to offer me 3 canned responses to Anna's message.
Oh, yeah.
I could say, I agree with you. Thank you. That means a lot. Or thanks for the advice. They don't have thanks for coming. I understand.
I understand. Thanks for coming. I understand. I'm trying to, because you've mentioned that the dog in the Nintendo universe, specifically Duck Hunt and other games like that, you always say that it must be sort of based on Muttley, but I can't find any evidence of this. I'm actually on its wiki page right now, and it just says...
Because I feel like that he's a mischievous dog. I don't know if he actually puts his his digital paw up in front of his face, but that could be me blending the Muttley thing with what the Duck Hunt dog does. But they seem really similar to each other to me. But no, there's nothing on the internet confirming that?
No, that's the laugh of the dog, by the way. That's literally, I'm watching it here. This is the dog laughing. Man, this makes me want to play Duck Hunt. How do you feel about Duck Hunt in this day and age? You said
I feel great about it if you leave the room so that I can hold the gun right up against the TV. And then you come back with your snacks and I go, hey, dude, I just set the all-time high record. I feel great about that.
This wasn't on Politics Road, but on the way back from Friendship towards the Twin Cities, John and I were chatting about the video game Red Dead Redemption 2, one of the very few games like that I play and played all the way through. In fact, it's the only game like that. Sometimes I play sporting games or other dumb things. I keep the volume down, but that one was like an immersive game that I actually got into. I think it's a gateway game for a lot of people. So we were talking about that and how I have kind of opted out of playing the actual story, and I'm just trying to stay in this one town and going around and foraging for herbs and whatever. And I'm out there with my bow and arrow hunting. Now there are all kinds of weapons you can get, but I always just think there's something about shooting. If I'm out there hunting for deer, a bow and arrow just seems like the most sort of humane and sporting way to do it. I don't know. It's a video game. It doesn't matter. But we were talking about that, and you mentioned that you would rather play a video game where you're shooting. I don't think you said people, but I think you said
bugs.
You said because John's playing that other Deep Diver game or whatever, you're robots and Helldiver. Nice remembering. But you said I'd rather shoot bugs and robots and monsters than animals. So Duck Hunt, I'm just wondering if that gets sort of a pass because it was from your youth.
Yes, and also because the ducks are so unconvincing.
Really?
I guess what I wouldn't be into for myself would be one of these new, very immersive, hyper realistic video games where you're also going out and killing. You're basically hunting in the game for animals.
Yeah. So you don't like that idea of me going around with my bow and arrow.
Well, I have to say this. This was on the drive home. I think this conversation got particularly in depth with the two of you on the drive home from Friendship back to the Twin Cities. And I just loved hearing you guys talk shop on this. I mean, not so much that I didn't put my headphones in and look at TikTok, but for about 10 minutes, just listening to you guys compare notes on weaponry, I found it actually to be quite charming. Not to the degree that I'll start playing it myself, but I thought that was kind of a fun moment. But yes, for me, I probably would be not inclined to play a game where I'm going to go around and shoot beautiful deer like I have in my yard today. But I'm not particularly sad about games where people shoot other people. So what's going on with me with that? That's messed up. I should be probably more upset about that than I am.
At the beginning of the show, we were joking about me fake laughing sometimes, just kind of keep the show rolling.
Yeah.
Couldn't we just replace it with the dog? That basically sounds like me. Can you say something funny? That's a great setup. People love that setup.
Hey, say something funny.
Funny.
Boy, Andrew, I'll tell you, it is hot today. It is I need a personal air conditioner for my armpits.
Now, was that me laughing or the dog?
Hold on, let me close my eyes. I have to lock in on this. Okay, now let me hear you laugh. Okay, that was definitely you.
That was 100%. Me. Okay, yeah, you got it. You got it.
Yeah.
Hey.
Now the thing is, that's the thing about that quote unquote laugh is even if you delivered the funniest joke that's ever been delivered, if you delivered an incredible joke, just the timing was perfect, it was witty, and then you played that laugh, it would immediately cut the legs out from under the joke. That is probably the worst sonic feedback one could ever receive for a joke.
It's so funny that you and I have referenced, especially in these Muttley conversations, we've referenced this laugh so many times, and I swear I heard it in my head. I knew exactly what it sounded like. Yet to play it here, and for you not to even have eyes on the imagery of Duck Hunt, you probably thought this was somebody just going down a pipe to like transport to another part of Mario World. Or something.
I would have
There's
absolutely believed that was
indicating-
Mario related.
Yeah, there's nothing indicating that this is laughter.
Well, that's the limitations of the technology they had at the time, right?
Yeah, I guess so.
By the way, is Muttley Crüe a possible show title?
Muttley Crüe, absolutely. Now, how do I get those umlauts is the question.
Did we pay for those? Do we have those on our website?
Thank you for bringing that up, by the way. I am going to use a picture of James Trafficant. I do not. So I'm going to be very frank here about something.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty strict about not using photos that are obviously under the banner of somebody's stock photo operation. Like Getty would be the main one, but there are other ones as well. It's not Alama or something. I don't know. There's a bunch. And when I'm looking for show pics sometimes, or if it's like a New York Times photo, like a photojournalist went out and took this photo for the New York Times, that's not going to end up on our website because I think you need to pay the people who take these photos and we can pay for it. And that's that. But there are some times where it's kind of like, I don't know, this photo just sort of seems to belong to the internet now. I find something, maybe sometimes I don't maybe like, beat the bushes looking for a copyright just so I can talk myself out of it. So that's basically the rules that I personally follow. I am still really confused why Getty seems to think they have the rights to this James Trafficant photo, and I'm dubious that they do. They might have maybe they have the right to resell it. I don't know. But I found a non-copyright version of it from, I believe, the Drudge Report that I will be using. So when
Takes
people
drag off of cigarette,
right? I know that could have been. That'll be tomorrow's show, right?
That's a name I haven't heard.
It might have been. You know what? It might have been the Smoking Gun. But either way, one of those. I kind of grouped those together a little bit. But anyway, so I have one that I am. Excuse me. I am going to use it for the show pick today. But I don't want people to be like, wait, Andrew said he wasn't going to steal this, and now he's stealing it. I believe that we are in the rights to use this, and that is why I'm using it, and I am not trying to steal intellectual property.
I'm now looking at today's Drudge Report.
They're still doing it, huh? What's up there?
They're still doing it. And it looks absolutely unchanged from the last time I looked at it 15 years ago.
Yes.
Wow. Isn't this a time capsule?
It is amazing.
Matt Drudge just sitting there, probably in Florida. I think that's where he used to be, just like jamming out these hyperlinks.
And they're all just that sort of, what is this font? Like Arial font? Is that what it's called? The typewriter looking font and it's all under, it's all the hyperlinks are underlined. This feels like 1998 to me.
It's also interesting that we can't go here because we're not on Politics Road, but to just look at this as a temperature check around where the right is regarding the Epstein thing. So he's got a headline. He's got this photo, I think, of Ghislaine Maxwell. It says Ghislaine's dangerous secrets, but then a link below it says the Don's shifting Epstein stories. So that certainly seems like Drudge is not in the bag for the sort of the Trump talking points around this. If he's calling his shifting Epstein stories.
And then when you click on that, it goes to a Mediaite story, right? Is that right?
Right.
Yeah. So, and the Mediaite has a...
Mediaite's pretty left-leaning, I think.
Is that... I could not
Generally.
remember that. Yeah, that's why I thought, what's the super right version of Mediaite? There's Mediaite and there's
the Daily Caller?
Yeah, that's not the one I'm thinking of, but that'll
Free Press?
do for now. Ugh.
My new news director, Barry Weiss. Have you heard about this?
Yes, I have been hearing a little bit about this, yes.
God, it's tough out there. It's bleak out there.
It is.
Sometimes.
That's that, and thus Politics Road. That's how you end up on Politics Road so often. All right, but yeah, we're gonna call it Muttley Crüe. Now, I worry about naming the show Politics Road. I feel like that could be a turn.
No, I don't think anybody. That's not going to drive engagement. So we'll go with Muttley Crüe. All right, that is going to do it for today's episode of TBTL. But we're going to be right back here tomorrow with more Imaginary Radio. I will be in Salt Lake City, checking in from that beautiful place.
The Salt Palace?
I'll have a dirty soda in one hand. So that's what's really big down there.
Dude.
It's basically like the fanciest soda you've ever had because a lot of folks don't drink alcohol. They like to, or coffee, I think, for that matter.
Did they used to call the NBA arena there the Salt Palace? I was watching an old 1980s commercial that had Karl Malone, the mailman, on yesterday's After These Messages. The theme of the show yesterday was all about commercials featuring mail carriers. And the last one I played was Karl Malone. Maybe I'll play it on the show for you tomorrow because it's one of the worst line reads I've ever heard. And he says, I play at the Salt Palace.
That's funny. They must have tried to call it that internally, but I always knew it as the Delta Center.
Oh, okay.
Like back in the day when the Sonics would be regularly in the playoffs against John Stockton and Jeff Hornacek and Karl Malone, they was always coming from the Delta Center.
I wonder,
maybe that was just
that
the
might have been a
corporate
little bit
name.
later. I think this commercial was from the 80s, so I wonder if maybe it shifted around later. I just wasn't sure if that was going to mean anything to you.
I remember meeting a Utah Jazz man in Seattle. The Jazz played the Sonics, and we got tickets through our church because the Jazz had this player named Mark Eaton, this big, tall guy, who I believe was oddly enough, was he a Mormon? Or was he I thought he was maybe an evangelical Christian. Somehow we got to meet this big, tall guy, Mark Eaton, after the Sonics played the Jazz. I was a little kid at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember him sharing some sort of religious message with us.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But anyway. Okay, I'll get some research going when I get down to Salt Lake City and figure out what the origin of that story is and report back tomorrow. Thank you.
Yep.
All right, we'll see you then. In the meantime, have a great Wednesday. Take care of yourselves, and please remember, no mountain too tall.
And good luck to all.
I deliver at the Salt Palace.
And nobody can deliver you to Los Angeles better than Morris Air Service, with 5 convenient weekly departures from only $59 each way. Or Morris offers you the San Francisco Bay Area from $69 each way.
So call Morris today.
Power out.